spent about half of the 2020s hosting a podcast called Delayed Replay, recapping and reviewing movies that came out on time in my universe but got delayed in that other universe. And as such, the movies as they were in my universe came out differently. Some listeners not of this universe even think that this is an improvised comedy podcast. And hey, let them think what they want. It's entertaining either way, right? I'm Shinder, and you're listening to Delayed Replay Season 6. Hashtag 6 seasons about movies. New episode every other Saturday. Unless I say otherwise. Welcome to Delayed Replay, everyone, that podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out on time in our universe. I'm your host, Shinder, and joining me once again, they used to podcast and now they do other things, presumably. Yeah.
Speak for yourself. I just quit podcasting because I was lazy.
Right. So, as I mentioned before, it's Dylan and Kiyan, and people can figure out who is who, I guess. So, how are you guys doing?
Right.
There's people who have never listened to us being like, who are these two jokers?
Right.
Listeners of Delayed Replay are quite familiar with us by now, but I'm fine. Thank you, Stephen. How are you?
I don't want to talk about it, honestly, but...
Damn, okay.
But, yeah, it's cool having you guys on again. It was nice eating at Breakfast Republic for like the third year in a row again. So
Wasn't that like 6 months ago?
Probably even more than that. It was like 9 or 10 months ago, but yeah.
Yeah, the second time was a year ago.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It was spring quarter last year, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it was in May. Right. So I guess to start off, for those who don't know, what are your guys' history / gripes, I guess, with like superhero fiction and I guess Marvel and whatnot?
That question left no room for positive thoughts.
Yeah, we're talking about Avengers 5, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that to the audience, but if they see the title, presumably
Like, what's going on?
By the time you get to Avengers 5, there's no room for positive thoughts.
I mean, I've seen every Marvel movie. Well, yes, actually, except the one that just came out in that other universe.
Oh yeah, Thunderbolts just came out in that other universe.
Yeah, so I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that one yet, but I've seen all the other ones, and I've seen quite a not insignificant amount of the TV shows. I would classify myself as a casual fan, I guess. I'm more a fan of film than fan of superhero films, but I keep myself up to date, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta like separate film and superhero film to like make yourself seem better, you know?
Well, I am just better. I'm not making myself seem better. I just am.
He's not pretending to be elitist. He just is. No, just
Right,
kidding.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say something about like you're studying for your PhD or already got it. Like, I don't even remember.
In the process. I'm actually in the process of writing my thesis these days, so I'm close to the end.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. I don't know why, that's just the thing I say now.
What? Hell yeah, brother.
Whose phrase is that? Is that Hulk?
What's this Hulk Hogan?
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of the Hulk, he's also in this movie. But yeah, I don't know if Kiyan also wanted to say something before we dive in. But
To answer your question, I'm perhaps even less of a fan than Dylan. I haven't seen even close to all of the Marvel movies, but here I am anyway, I suppose.
Well, luckily for us, this movie began with a lengthy recap of pretty much every Marvel thing. Like, not even just the MCU, but all the stuff that was, like, by the other studios.
Right.
It was kind of a kind of a weird choice to take all that media and just speed it up 100% and put it at the beginning of this movie. But you know,
Yeah, and because they know that our podcast exists and broadcasts to that other universe, they even included elements of like the versions of the movies that came out in that other universe, and so the plot of this one like references threads from those and the ones that we have over here. So it's a huge mess all around, this multiverse saga, honestly.
yeah, the real multiverse saga is cracking the multiverse in real life, right? Communicating with alternate universes, getting their versions of Marvel movies.
Also, to feed into this multiverse thing, they even did this marketing trend where it's like, depending on which showing of Avengers 5 you go to, you'll either see one version where it's more Kang heavy, or you'll see another version where it's more Doctor Doom heavy. And it depends on like a choice that's made early on in the movie and how differently it happens. So you might see Avengers Kang Dynasty or Avengers Doomsday, and basically like what they did when the Clue movie came out, except it's not just the ending.
And also like way less sort of befitting of the theme of the movie, right? Like Clue, there's sort of a reason to do that, an understandable reason.
Yeah, to make more money.
Right.
I would say that's an understandable reason, right?
I mean, yeah, like these movies are trying to help the box office, right?
Help is a word.
It's also a Beatles album and song. Have you guys ever listened to the Beatles? You ever heard of them?
I've heard of them. I've listened to one of their songs.
Just one.
Yeah, just one. Twist and Shout. It's a real banger.
Oh yeah, the one that was in that, or should have been in that Doctor Who episode, but they cheaped out, yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Well, speaking of monetary incentives, maybe we should just get this out of the way right away. What did you guys think of the blatant product placement?
I thought it was great, honestly. I mean, look, I left the movie and I was like, why am I craving Cheesecake Factory right now? Right? I didn't see a Cheesecake Factory in the movie, but they clearly injected some sort of subliminal messaging in there, right? They really upped their game on this product placement. They did it subliminally, did it subconsciously, and you leave the movie and you're like, man, I could really go for an Oreo cheesecake slice from Cheesecake Factory right now. I could really go to Cheesecake Factory and get a big, chicken parmesan with a side of Oreo cheesecake right now,
Yeah, basically that's like at the beginning of the movie, all of the superheroes get this mysterious invitation to Cheesecake Factory. The whole place is rented out because there are way too many damn superheroes. And yeah, this all turns out to be an elaborate ruse,
By Nike.
By Nike, right?
Right.
Perpetrated by Nike.
Yeah.
I was going to say the reason they picked Cheesecake Factory is, they've got that menu that's like 17 pages long. So they've got enough dishes for all of the superheroes to get a different dish, right? They really want to sell you on this massive menu, right? I log the Cheesecake Factory menu on my Goodreads every time I go there, frankly.
Damn.
Look,
yeah, I should
make
log
sure-
that in my Goodreads too.
Yeah, you should. Look, I'm just for full transparency, okay? Cheesecake Factory cut us a check to make sure that we mentioned them in this podcast too, okay? And I just want to make sure we're going to get our money's worth by mentioning Cheesecake Factory enough times, right? They've got snipers trained on our position right now.
And dots on our foreheads.
And again, remember that that's perpetrated by Nike, right? Okay.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like there was that one scene where someone was wearing Nike shoes, but like standing on the bed wearing them.
I know, yeah. I mean, Kiyan and I, we watched this movie together, and I could just see Kiyan cringing at that moment. That kid, he just jumps right on the bed, Nike Air Zoom Maxes laced up. He's just tracking that dirt all over the bed. I think that was young Ant-Man, right? If I remember correctly, Stephen.
Yeah, it was. And speaking of Ant-Man, like one of the things that he fights in this movie are, these they refer to as Drosophila. He ends up like fighting these fruit flies that were like unleashed by Doctor Doom or Kang, depending on which version you watch. So what'd you guys think of that sequence?
Well, Keon hates bugs.
Yeah, I could have done without the fly close-ups. But yeah, it was cool, throwing some action in there right away.
I liked the point of view shot from the fly point of view. They've got like 1,000 eyes or whatever. With those eyes, it looks like they're seeing everything in thousand, not duplicate because that means two, but thousandlicate. What's the word?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very reminiscent of the intro sequence that just recapped everything, right? Maybe
Right.
perhaps this is putting us into the perspective of a fly, letting us know what it's like to be just an insect.
A fly on the wall in this universe, you might say.
Yeah, I think they even used this fly point of view when the Marvel logo showed up at the beginning and showed all the different like screens and footage of past films. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
really just beaming that Marvel logo into your
Sensory
head.
overload. Really just trying to beat you into submission there, right? Trying to make sure you know that Marvel is your god, okay?
Yeah, and you got like Ant-Man's daughter Cassie, and also you got Wasp. They have to like save his life because he's like messing up while fighting these fruit flies at this cheesecake factory, which is what drew them here. Yeah, like this was really weird. Like they have this sequence and like have the heroes like fight all these insects or whatever. Like most of them are normal size and just trying to swat them away, whereas the heroes who can like shrink like fight them so that they look gigantic to them. But
Really putting themselves at a disadvantage for really no discernible reason.
Just handicapping themselves. They're just too powerful. I mean, the Avengers there's 100 people in the Avengers now, right? So it's like there's no threat that the Avengers can't tackle.
yeah.
Brute force with sheer numbers.
Right. They're like Russia in World War II. You throw enough people at the problems.
Yeah, so after this whole Cheesecake Factory sequence, they're trying to figure out like who's doing all this, and then you hear the slow clap in one direction and a slow clap in another direction. And so we see Kang and Doctor Doom, and they teleport everyone to this like wasteland looking place, which they call Battle World. And we begin with this Kang and Doctor Doom fight first, and they're like, whichever of us wins is whoever you'll fight. So I watched both versions of this, so like there were some things that kind of blur together in my head because both versions are really confusing. But what'd you guys this whole preparation? Like everyone's just watching this fight between various Doctor Dooms and various Kangs until one comes on top.
Frankly, I was totally lost during this whole sequence. I was lost through most of the movie, to be honest,
And you watched all of them previously.
Yeah. Yeah, so if that's not an indication of the quality of filmmaking we're working with here, I don't know what is.
But in the end, I felt that it didn't particularly matter in the end since they were both sponsored by Nike to begin with.
Yeah.
Find out, it's like the Nike logo is all over the place, and we find this out shortly. So
Yeah, I think the real point was that the real villain is Adidas. Right.
Yeah, depending on which version you watch, either Kang does like a stomp kill on Doctor Doom while wearing Nikes, or Doctor Doom does a stomp kill wearing Adidas.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's just a copy and replace in the special effects, right? Like there wasn't, I didn't watch. We didn't watch both versions. We only watched the version we got, which was the Kang winning version. But from what I know from the online discourse that I have been reading, pretty much you just copy paste the special effects files, and it's effectively the same movie, same script, just a different character, which is a pretty lazy way to go about it. Steven, you mentioned Clue earlier. At least in that, like the endings, they're like very different. They're not They've used different characters, different plot, different reason for the murder. Murders.
Yeah, it really does feel like they just had someone wearing a mocap suit, and depending on the winner, they'll like superimpose either Kang or Doom and maybe record different lines for each one and go to some of the same places. There are like little different locations here and there, but yeah, I feel like this experiment was one that just was too clunky to even try, honestly.
But it made them hella money.
Yeah.
But this is sort of the trend, right, towards just virtual sets and this type of thing.
Well, that's the big benefit to filming this movie on a green screen is, like Steven said, they've got slightly different locations, but really the characters are doing the same thing. You just copy paste the green screen. In one version of the movie, it's in Paris. In another version of the movie, you're in Cape Town, South Africa, right? But it's just, they're doing the same things, and all you got to do is you replace, what you're green screening in.
Yeah, which image from Google Images you just plopped in the background now? I'm just
The
kidding.
creative Getty Images.
Yeah, speaking of the green screen, are you guys aware of like, with the Hobbit movies, supposedly how not fun that was for Sir Ian McKellen?
I like how you say supposedly as if Ian McKellen hasn't said himself that it wasn't fun. Like you seem to doubt for some reason.
Well, I mean, he also
Telling
appeared
the truth?
he also appeared in Cats several years later, so like I don't know.
Yeah, but they had physical sets for Cats. I don't know if really showing like I guess how much I made up on this. I don't know if you look behind the scenes of Cats. They had actual physical sets on that. A significant
Right.
most of that movie was actually not green screen, believe it or not.
Right. So what we're saying is Cats is superior to the Hobbit movies.
Well, I didn't say that, but you can quote Steven on that though.
No. Even then, I probably would put Cats below the Hobbit movies.
I haven't seen the Hobbit movies, believe it or not. So
You'd probably like them.
yeah, I mean they sound pretty good based on what you're saying. Sound like they sound pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, did the actors on this movie have fun acting on the green screen? I think that was where you were going with that question. I don't know.
Well, no. I was gonna say that. So they have like past versions of Marvel characters from like outside of Marvel Studios. So here they have like Ian McKellen as Magneto, Patrick Stewart as like Professor X, and so they kind of make a reference to the whole like green screen controversy, and you have Magneto being like, he like looks around at this wasteland that is to us obviously CGI, and he's like, "This is not why I became a mutant," as if he had a choice in becoming a mutant.
Yeah, honestly, the strangest part of that was the lore drop that I guess Magneto had a choice in becoming a mutant. That was pretty weird retconning.
Yeah, that was pretty controversial online.
As far as I remember.
Yeah, like Kiyan just said, kind of just destroys his character.
Yeah, much like how lots of people get destroyed in this movie. But because, lots of people end up dying, like it very much feels like they're trying to make the stakes seem high, even though we know that like some of this is probably going to get undone, right? Like we've seen this type of thing before,
Well, the stakes are high. Nike could take over the world. Adidas could take over the world.
Yeah. So in the version where Doctor Doom comes out on top, the version of Doctor Doom that becomes like the main antagonist for this movie is played by Robert Downey Jr. What you guys think of the explanation for why this Doctor Doom looks like the Tony Stark we're so familiar with?
I mean, yeah, it was pretty weird for the explanation to be that the real life actor Robert Downey Jr. had a, terrible accident, got transported into another dimension, had a, horrible disfigurement and became Doctor Doom. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty weird to link it to the real world like that. But yeah, I think it worked, I guess.
Yeah, like going into this, I was skeptical, but I mean, I'm not sure if I'm completely convinced by the reasoning, but when it comes to multiverse stories, like there's always gonna be a universe where like some of the things are a fictional thing and the person's an actor. So, um, and in a way, it kind of mirrors Iron Man 3. You know, the Mandarin in that movie was an actor.
The best Iron Man.
Ooh.
I have no opinion, and I've seen that actually. Actually, to circle back to your question at the beginning, Stephen, personally, most of my qualms and problems with the MCU overall stem from the Iron Man like origins of it, I guess, but whatever. That's besides the point.
Yeah, the quippy humor.
Yeah, they even do some of that here. Like, very frequently, they say, "There's someone behind me, isn't there?"
Right, yeah, when Doctor Doom reveals that he looks like well, he is Robert Downey Jr., he goes, "Bet you didn't expect to see this face again, huh?" You know, kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge at the audience, right?
Right, just turns right into the camera and says, "I am Robert Downey Jr."
Yeah. Echoing the I am Iron Man thing, yeah. And you have like Deadpool and She-Hulk getting mad at him for breaking the fourth wall, so like they have some beef and try fighting him.
Yeah, well, Deadpool just gets dunked on immediately.
Yeah, interestingly enough, they challenged him to a pecan gathering competition.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that? I felt it was a bit out of left field, but in the end, I was convinced they won me over with the execution.
But which part of the execution was it that won you over?
Personally, it was the Cheesecake Factory branded equipment that they were using.
Well, they had to collect. Okay, for context, you know, maybe some of the listeners at home haven't watched the movie. They had to gather pecans so that Cheesecake Factory could make their classic, famous pecan cheesecake. Okay, that's why they had the cheesecake branded equipment, and that apparently was Kiyan's favorite part of this whole sort of battle, right? One-on-one, Deadpool versus Doctor Doom pecan gathering.
Yeah, and for the version where it's Kang who is the villain, instead of pecans, they're gathering like folding chairs and seeing who can get them set up like the quickest and whatnot.
Yeah, for a church function.
Right. Yeah, you can't blame them for laziness in this. I mean, this was just, two totally separate things.
I mean, this was the preeminent fight scene in the movie, right? I mean, this was the big ticket seller with, online everybody was talking like, can you believe that pecan gathering scene? And other people were like, no way. Like in my version, they were putting up folding chairs, and this was the real big money draw here.
Yeah, you had some people here and there being like, it's just like in the comics.
Right, yeah. I mean, that famous comic Wolverine number 77 where they put up the folding chairs for the church. It was a pretty deep cut reference. I was surprised they made it in the movie, but real diehard Marvel fans appreciated it, I'm sure.
Speaking of Wolverine, is it just me or did it kind of feel like Hugh Jackman was really checked out in this one?
No, that was just you. No, I'm just kidding. No. No, yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, in a way, it's interesting that more of the actors weren't, right? It's like at this point, how many MCU movies deep is this?
30 something.
Oh, geez, yeah, it's even more than I thought. So, here we are.
I mean, look, he was there for the paycheck. You got to respect that. Just like we are.
Just like you guys.
So you can't knock that too much. I mean, you can knock it a little bit, but he only had like 5 minutes of screen time. There were so many Avengers in this movie. Most of them only had 5 minutes of screen time each. Kang and Doctor Doom certainly got the most screen time of any characters in any of these movies.
Yeah, I was actually surprised how evenly split many of the characters were. And they were even like, in different teams, like they each had like these different tasks to do in different locations. So there's a lot of cutting back and forth to different places. Like there was that construction site scene. What did you guys think of that scene? Like, did it do anything for you?
Well, I thought it was pretty weird that they took a 20-minute diversion to explain freight shipping logistics to us.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I understand that for the final battle, which, I'm getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here for the final battle in the movie, the freight shipping logistics ended up being sort of a big part of why the Avengers defeated Kang/Doctor Doom. But, it just reminded me of like reading Casino Royale, and there's a whole chapter that just explains the rules of the card game to you. Same thing here. We had 20 minutes scene. They go to this construction site and they meet up with, probably the best character in the movie, Jimothy Stevens, who explains freight shipping logistics to the audience. I don't know if it did anything for me, but I liked Jimothy Stevens as a character. It was pretty sad when he died later on.
Yeah, he even had his own like costume and superhero name. He just called himself Freight Shipping Agent.
FSA, short.
Yeah. What'd you guys think of the actor who played him?
I think he did a good job really selling up the edutainment angle. I mean, people, and us included, can criticize this moment all they want, this entire scene all they want, but this wasn't a secret or anything. They were trying to kind of bring the Avengers movies down a sort of different path this time, and heavily leaned into the edutainment angle here. So
I mean, it was just a shock to me that they actually got Martin Scorsese on board to play Jimothy Stevens. I mean, he's been a big opponent of the Marvel movies
Yeah.
for the past couple of years, saying that they're basically slop, that they're not worth anything. So I think that was a huge get for Marvel. I love seeing, I think he's a good actor, and I think he brought a lot of charm to the character.
I think that red dot trained on his head the entire time was a little suspect, though. I mean, they never really explained it.
Well, they tried to. They sort of alluded to the fact that they tried to make it part of his costume and to be like part of the mystique, but they didn't want to draw too much attention to it. I think, yeah. Now that you mention it, though, it was pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this construction site was actually like early stage development of some sort of amusement park. So it really felt like it was like wink, wink, nudge, nudging that comment he's made about how superhero movies are just amusement parks or whatever he said.
Yeah, amusement parks for the mind.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
cerebral amusement parks, you might say.
Yeah. I'd use that word. It's definitely cerebral.
It was kind of random having the Thing and the Hulk fight each other. Like, it felt like that was thrown in there just because there's like that, just because the fans want it. It felt like a really random diversion, honestly.
But personally, I liked well, I guess this is just particular to me, but I actually forgot that original Hulk movie from like 2008 or whatever was part of the MCU. I completely forgotten about that. And coming back to these movies so much later, I was reminded. So I appreciated that personally.
Yeah, I do quite like how later stuff leaned more into like connections to that 2008 movie, because I was long a defender of that Edward Norton Hulk movie. I can't say that I feel the same about the Eric Bana one, although that apparently has its own little cult following. Hence why he was thrown into these things here.
Was that the Ang Lee one, the Eric Bana one, or was that a completely different one?
Yeah, it's the Ang Lee one.
That was like 2003 one or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right after he won the Academy Award for Brokeback Mountain?
Oh, did he do Brokeback Mountain?
Yes, actually, believe it or not.
Oh, I didn't know that. I only knew that he did Hulk and Life of Pi.
Yeah, Ang Lee did Brokeback Mountain.
Huh.
Stunned into silence.
Yeah, I mean, I legit didn't know he made Brokeback Mountain. I still need to see that. Yeah. I guess you could revoke my film fan card for not having seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Oh, okay.
So you have to revoke all our film fan cards, I guess.
Yeah, we all get banished to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah.
Shoot. Well, that's a good segue, actually, because they after Jimothy Stevens explains freight shipping, logistics, and then gets brutally murdered by Kang/Doctor Doom, depending on which version you're watching. They do get the heroes do get banished, not to the Shadow Realm, mind you, but they do sort of get banished from Earth. The UN says, you know what, you're bringing too much death and destruction. Now I know they're on Battleworld at this point, but they sort of receive a letter in the mail, so to speak. Not literally a letter in the mail. I should clarify, but they basically receive word, you're not welcome back on Earth. Make do with your new home on Battleworld.
Yeah, and honestly, this feels like a natural progression of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I don't even know if comics have done this, but like banishing the superheroes to this world because they're just tired of their I'm gonna bleep this out, but tired of their well, I guess they've done it in like with Hulk and Planet Hulk, but yeah, to just banish all of them, even the young Avengers, the younger generation, because like that was, they have their own dreams and aspirations of saving the world, and then the UN is like, nope, you go to space with the rest of them.
Space is cool. Space is cool.
Literally, I think.
Yeah.
It has been described, as hell by some people. I would probably more accurately describe Battleworld as hell. I mean, everything's falling apart. Things are on fire. There's no Cheesecake Factory anywhere to be seen. The heroes panic.
Yeah, and it also looks like Paris.
Yeah, I mean, same difference, right? Paris, hell. Just angered your entire French audience, all 5 of them.
Well, hey, I did say which Paris.
Paris, Texas, actually, is what we were referring to.
Yeah.
Just angered all 1 of your Paris, Texas fans.
I mean, I have a couple friends from Texas, but Texas is a huge place, so maybe they don't care. I don't know.
But yeah, pandemonium reigns on Battleworld. The heroes are in disarray. They're fighting with each other. Like you said, Hulk is fighting the Thing. Wolverine stabs Deadpool a couple times. Deadpool stabs Wolverine.
Sharpened pencil, not actually his claws.
Yeah.
Believe it or
Which
not.
was weird. That was kind of weird.
Yeah, Beast goes into the fray as well. And you got like
Beast mode.
Got Ben Affleck, Daredevil, all the 80s Punisher, like all these weird variations of like all the different heroes, even from like the TV movies that people forgot about. It was just chaos.
Yeah, it ends up taking Tom Cruise, not as Iron Man as many people thought he was going to be, but Tom Cruise actually playing a variant of Deadpool, to bring everyone back into the fray. Kind of, you make some sly references to Mission Impossible while he's at it. But it takes Tom Cruise to really settle everyone down and get them all on the same page, and that was kind of surprising. What did you guys think of the decision to have Tom Cruise in this movie and maybe not to cast him as Iron Man like everyone thought he was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, they had him as Iron Man in one of the movies like the last couple years, so I do like that they didn't repeat that. It would have been kind of repetitive. But it was kind of weird because like, it's Tom Cruise and they're in space. Like, it kind of took me out of it, but yeah, but I think by this point I had already like given up on, feeling like I have to suspend my disbelief and just was like, okay, yeah, whatever, let the movie happen. I paid to be here for like 3 hours, so I gotta see this through, I guess. 6 hours if you count the other version I watched.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh. I mean, it's sort of a harsh thing to say. Like, I take it you didn't particularly care for either version. Yeah.
I mean,
Which version was better, Steven? Since you saw both.
I thought the Kang one was slightly better because I feel like the
Right
What?
I said we saw the right one.
Yeah, because like the whole like Robert Downey Jr. aspect, like I think what's happened is like the last couple of years, I've just kind of gotten over like meta or whatever you want to call it, like fourth wall breaking, like leaning too much into that. Like I've kind of gotten over that in like media in general, and I'm kind of tired of it.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's especially easy to fall into with a series as long running as the MCU, just sort of having the direction of the series directed by meta, directed by reception, stuff like this. So, yeah.
Yeah, like the movie basically feels like we know that you have watched all these things and that you want us to mention that you've watched these things, and it just becomes a snake eating its own tail, basically.
The Ouroboros.
What?
I said the
Yeah.
Ouroboros. The
Oh
Ouroboros.
yeah. Yeah, some people might pronounce it that way, yeah.
Some people. Not me, though.
Yeah, like there comes a point where, Tom Cruise mentions there's this thing called there's like this, I mean, talk about repetition, this thing called the Pearl, which he says will help them somehow. Like he doesn't really go into detail, but this becomes a request to like find the Pearl here on Battle World.
I was just glad that there was some sort of I don't know, goal, direction, uh, something to strive towards. As you mentioned, I think Stephen, the middle of this movie felt quite chaotic, right? So um, now that they now have sort of this guiding, light in the last bit, helped, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it.
Okay, well, what's another way to look at it then, Stephen?
I mean, I don't know. Like in the Infinity Saga, we had the Infinity Stones, and now it's like, oh, so we're finding another sort of valuable, like, I don't know, stone, gem, whatever it's considered. Like, I don't know. How'd you feel
Cool.
about it, Dylan?
Rocks are
I
cool.
think that's why they're found so often in space.
I mean, it didn't really feel very repetitive compared to the Infinity Stones because that was like those were a big whole multi-saga thing, and the Pearl, it turns out to not even actually be a stone in this movie, like even sure the name ended up being a little deceiving, right? But I think it was fine. But yeah, like Keon said, it's just another MacGuffin. These Marvel movies, they all have some MacGuffin that you have to find, and then that that saves the day. You find the MacGuffin and you win. So
Yeah, that's true. Like it turned out to not be a stone because like it turns out to be made out of like mayonnaise and it just looks solid from far away.
Right, and they kind of couch it as a biscuit. I know they're using that term pretty lightly or pretty loosely, I should
Yeah.
say. But yeah, I'm sure that upset a lot of British people, though, considering how granular they can get about classifying different types of baked goods and breads and such.
about their biscuits, yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. And their mayonnaise.
Yeah.
I think we're at that point in the movie where we're at the final battle, pretty much, right? I mean, they're looking for the pearl. They find the pearl. They find out it's mayonnaise, biscuit, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Um, they're there. Time to apply their freight shipping logistics. Um, they're being pretty aggressive about it, though, right? They're doing a lot of posturing going into the final battle. It felt a little uncomfortable almost, how aggressive they were being about it.
But there still is that edutainment angle to consider,
Right.
and beating you over the head with it is maybe part of that, and therefore forgivable.
Maybe. What are your thoughts, Stephen?
Yeah, like honestly, I came to a point where I felt like I was watching like KPBS or something, like of the whole edutainment thing and talking about friendship and whatever. But
I mean,
I guess I was fine with it. Like you got to have a bit of education in this sort of brain rotting type of plot.
I was just saying maybe the angle here is that they were trying to get it so that it could be shown in schools, right? Give the movie a second life on repeats to be shown in school. Send your little Timmy away to 8th grade, and he comes home, Mom, we watched Avengers Doomsday game, the Kang Dynasty, and
Kiyan Dynasty.
and I learned all about freight shipping logistics today, and pecan gathering, and how to stack folding. These are life skills that we all need to have, which I have none of them, actually. None of those three.
Yeah, maybe you're
Until I
right.
watched the movie.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they wanted it to feel educational so that could be put in like schools and just kill 3 hours instead of like actually doing work.
Right. Yeah, this is definitely sort of a boon for the teachers, right? Just put on a movie.
A Marvel movie, no less.
Yeah. Kick your feet up. Just take a nice little nap or something. I don't know.
I mean, I think it would be impossible to nap through this movie. It's so much sensory overload. I don't think I could fall
I don't
asleep.
know. Those looking back on like my days in public school, as a child, put on a movie because the teacher doesn't actually want to teach that day thing was very real.
It's true. Especially if you took those AP courses, and then once you took the AP test, you had the whole 3 weeks where you're like, what are we doing? I'm watching Pirates of the Caribbean this week.
The Curse of the Black Pearl, no less.
Right.
The best one.
This is a hot take, but On Stranger Tides is my favorite.
Wow, that is a astoundingly hot take. That is a nuclear hot take. I'm not even going to address that.
No, yeah, people can listen to the Pirates of the Caribbean episode you and I did a while back.
I totally forgot that we had done that. Frankly, I've forgotten most of my podcasting days.
As have I. Yeah. Once you're out of it, it's surprisingly easy to just kind of forget most of it.
Which is incredible because we did it for like a third of our lives.
Right.
Yeah, like basically a decade or less for you guys.
It was almost 9 years.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're at the final battle, right? And me sitting in the audience, clown Dylan, I thought it was going to be over in like 10 minutes. No, this drags on for the next 45 minutes.
What do you guys think of the decision to roll the credits over the scene and then just fade to black?
Without a resolution.
Right, without having resolved it. And there's no sort of classic Marvel or superhero movie like post credits, nothing like that,
I actually liked this choice because I've been saying for years that like there should be a movie where the credits play all throughout the movie. That would be pretty funny. So like when we get to the end, like the credits are already done and you don't have to sit there. And
we used to play the credits before the movie, back in the day.
Back when credits were only like 5 seconds.
when it was two panels and it was
Right.
No, yeah, I went to a 50th anniversary screening of Monty Python and the Holy Grail the other day, and yeah, it's all like in the beginning for that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bold choice, I will say, to have no resolution. Again, another money-making venture kind of feels like forces you to have to watch the next movie, which is not going to come out for another year. And it's like, obviously, the Avengers are going to win, right? Like, eventually. But what is the next movie going to be? Are they just going to open with another hour-long fight sequence? Just continue this fight sequence for another hour, right? I don't know.
And I will say that I also think people are tired of mid and post-credit scenes, so I feel like this was also in response to that.
Just make the credits the entirety of the scene, right? Some malicious compliance there from Marvel, I think.
I liked it though because it gave it sort of an art house / too deep for you vibe, which I obviously am into. So.
Well, it was 3 deep, 5 me. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. Like as cool as that choice was with the credits, at the end I felt just kind of empty. Maybe it was because I didn't get a bucket of popcorn to consume while watching the movie and I felt hungry like as I was leaving. But how did you
You
guys
did.
feel?
I remember you saying you watched them back to back, so that was, 6 hours straight of movie, and that's pretty impressive.
No, yeah, it's one of the worst decisions of my life, honestly.
I don't know why that's so funny. Probably the blunt delivery. Well, I mean, look, I was just wondering, like, what are the logistics of this? You know, you want if you only go see one of these, right? Say you see the Kang version like we did, and it doesn't, there's no definitive ending. Now the next movie is going to come out. Are there going to be two versions of the next movie too? What if you see the Kang version of this? You rock up to the next movie, you watch the Doctor Doom version of that movie. What's going on,
Right?
right?
Are they gonna kind of bring it back into one timeline, so to speak, or are they gonna do the two versions route? Considering how much bank they made over this release,
I think we know what they're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, hell, maybe there'll be three timelines next time.
Right? Yeah. Each of the two movies will split into three separate timelines.
Oh
So
my
there'll
gosh.
actually be six movies.
Yeah, hey, Avengers 6, you know.
It's true. That's how they're gonna do it. We cracked the code, boys.
Yeah. We
Break out the tissue box, This next one, it's gonna be tearjerker. All six of them.
yeah, bust out the nunchucks cuz you can't take us down so easily.
Well, funny you should say that, but actually during our screening, someone was so upset that the movie ended without a resolution that they started fist fighting the theater employees. So in a way, we did get a post-credit scene, and that was this guy fist fighting the theater employee. Uh,
Yeah, that reminds me of this story that you've told about how when you saw like Suicide Squad in 2016 and the movie ended, someone was like, "Take that, Rotten
yeah,
Tomatoes."
that's a true story that actually did happen.
that was not a great movie. Though.
No.
No, yeah, it wasn't.
And I don't know if I mentioned this the first time I told that story, but people applauded the statement. This man was not alone in this sentiment. There were people who were like, "Yeah, cosign."
Should we make more Suicide Squad content like a few years later because they acknowledged that that movie was poorly received and not very good, or something like that?
They certainly made another one, and well,
It was like in the same, like it had a couple of the same characters from the previous movie, played by the same actors, but it was mostly new characters and like it was a continuation of that universe, but stylistically it was different and better. I didn't put it on a pedestal like lots of people did, but I did think it was a step up.
a soft reboot, let's say.
Yeah, and I feel like I thought they explicitly like announced this, but apparently not. I feel like that was the reason they did that is because the 2016 one was like poorly received or whatever. But whatever, yeah, I don't know. I actually watched that in theaters now, thinking back to it.
Did you have a guy who stand up and go,
No.
"Take that, Rotten Tomatoes"?
No.
Bummer. I saw it opening night, by the way, when that happened.
Nice, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. As to quote Steven from 3 minutes ago, the worst decision of my life.
Only because movies weren't like $40 back then.
All right, well, I guess we could go into final thoughts and score out of 10, and do you have measurements for those scores? So, who wants to go first?
Dylan. Just kidding.
All right, I guess I'll go first. Yeah, overall, probably solid middle of the pack Marvel movie. Certainly not the worst one I've seen. They've had some stinkers in there, believe it or not. And the chaos of this movie almost made it endearing in a way, right? The like absolute what's going on sort of factor. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but let's pretend it was. I would say that actually kept it kind of interesting. So I'd say, middle of the road. 5 Oreo cheesecakes out of 10 slices of pecan cheesecake.
Okay.
Don't forget to support your local cheesecake factory. Their cheesecake is better than their food. The
Wow,
red dot just got a lot bigger.
Right, I'm going to be a lot less risky, I guess, in my assessment of this movie than Dylan, and just award it 10 meals that I'm going to eat at Cheesecake Factory out of the next 10 meals that I'm going to eat in general.
damn.
Yeah, actually, we were going to go to Cheesecake Factory after this recording, right? Weren't we? I mean, we were planning that. We were going to drive to Cheesecake Factory. And what about you, Steven?
I feel like I'm like the most down on this one, honestly. Like, I mean, I kind of knew what this was gonna be, you know, what type of movie this was gonna be, but I just felt really tired at the end, especially after seeing like them back to back for like 6 hours. So I would give both versions 4 out of 10 jars of mayonnaise.
Mhm.
That's a lot of jars of mayonnaise. It takes me like 2 months to go through one jar of mayonnaise. So four jars of mayonnaise, that's a good review in my book. That's
Oh
like
my
a
gosh.
year's worth of mayonnaise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I think we've pretty much covered the movie and anything, like I know everyone's talking about like every single thing in this movie, but if there are any things I care to like bring up that we missed, I'll go ahead and throw them in the edit like after the our discussion or whatever.
You could
But
get the meta and just make the edit as long as the actual episode, so you kind of have what, the two versions, right? One each as long as the other.
We just record another entire version of this podcast.
I mean, if it were 5 years ago, maybe I'd have time to do that, but no.
Yeah,
No.
true.
But speaking of which, this is like I don't even think I mentioned this while talking to you guys off the top, but this is the 5th anniversary special episode of Delayed Replay.
Happy anniversary. I think you mentioned it in the text to us, but I don't
Yeah.
think you did it to us verbally. So happy anniversary, Delayed Replay. You're officially old enough to toddle.
Yeah, so my question to you guys is, what are your favorite things that have the number 5 in them?
Oh God, I can't just bring that on us. That would be the kind of thing.
The iPhone 5. I don't know.
Five Guys. I don't know.
The paper I just got published on the archive has a 5 in its numeric identifier, so I guess I can say that.
All right. Yeah, I like top 5 lists, and I also kind of like 5 gum, I guess.
Oh, actually, pretty much the only gum that I chew is 5 gum. Random Dylan lore drop. Pretty much the only gum I chew is 5 gum, except extra polar ice.
Hell yeah. Now people can take that with them to pub quizzes just in case that comes up.
Right, yeah, because Dylan trivia comes up a lot at trivia. I mean, I go to trivia every Monday. It comes up every week, at least.
Yeah, it happens at the university that you're at.
Yeah, I mean, they just love me here. Again,
Right.
going back to the beginning when I said I'm not pretending to be elitist, I just am.
Yeah, we also are recording like on Zoom a day after Skype has been shut down.
Yeah, take that, Skype.
Yeah.
We were the ones keeping Skype alive, is what we're finding out. Kiyan and I recorded like 4 years worth of episodes on Skype.
Yeah, like and on my end, like over the years, I would like change between different recording methods depending on like what's available to the guest and what works for them or not. So like I would use like Anchor and I would use Skype, Zoom, and Discord. I think I even used Google Meet one time to record the Community movie episode. So oh, and also like Facebook Messenger, like I have a friend who I had to call through that and like record on my end, and yeah. So
Area picture.
Right, yeah.
Telegram. Telegraph.
yeah, I think the real downfall with Skype is that at a certain point you'd keep getting like these spam messages, and it kind of felt like Skype didn't know what to do about those, and then all of a sudden Skype became like a source of like sending out news headlines and news articles, and it kind of felt like they didn't know what to do with it after a certain point.
Really, I didn't get any of that at all.
I don't keep Skype open anymore, so I don't know. But all I can say is Skype fumbled a legendary head start when the COVID hit, got killed by Zoom in like the span of 6 months.
Yeah, in that other universe. Whereas over here, people just got tired of it.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Right. So, yeah, 5 years of delayed replay, and I guess we'll see what else comes for the podcast. Lots of cool
5 more
stuff
years.
coming ahead.
5
Yeah,
more years,
maybe we'll see.
20 more years. Steven and delayed replay, 20-year adventure, 20 more years.
That's a Rick and Morty reference, right?
Yes.
Nice. All right, well, guess that'll do it. Thanks for joining me again, Kiyan and Dylan. You guys
We
don't
still
have,
have not identified. I don't think we've directly identified who's who, although I think we've alluded to it a couple times. But
Yeah, and we're still not going to directly identify it. Thank you for having us on, Stephen, and happy
yeah, thank you for
5th
inviting
anniversary
us.
to Delayed Replay.
yeah, and you guys don't have anything to plug, so I don't know if you want to like recommend something you've watched or what, or like something to eat. I don't know.
Cheesecake Factory. No, I don't. Just live your life as you see fit. Don't take recommendations from me.
I watched the Kurosawa movie High and Low the other day. I thought that was incredible. It's easily, I think, top 20 movies I've ever seen. Highly recommend that. I also recommend crisp filtered tap water, which we've been drinking this entire episode. As I said that, Kiyan reached for his glass to take a drink, and I'm not sure if I like psychologically influenced him to do that.
No, it wasn't like subconscious. I did that specifically because you said that. Yeah.
Those are my recommendations. The tap water and High and Low, apparently.
All right, yeah, maybe I'll
Running marathons. Do that every day.
As your morning routine.
Right. You should run at least one marathon before work every day. Preferably two.
I don't know if I can keep that up, but hey, listeners are welcome to, well, don't hold me liable. Do what is safe for you.
Yeah, this is not serious advice. That one, anyway, the other two were.
All right, so yeah, that'll do it. And next episode comes out in 2 weeks from whenever this one comes out. So without further delay, have a good day. Okay, so for a big movie like this where there's so many characters and so many things going on, it's going to be tough to touch on absolutely everything, but just wanted to mention a few things. I quite liked how Cyclops felt more like his X-Men 97 portrayal. They really nailed that here. Rebecca Romaine, who plays Mystique in some of the X-Men movies, she, for the most part, Mystique was disguised as multiple different characters in this. It was basically Rebecca wearing a mocap suit, and they'd put the other actors over her so they'd have her movements but not her. And so it's weird, but there's also an authenticity to it in a way, because it's like it's her underneath, but on the surface looks like other people. I also thought that Nightcrawler, Alan Cumming coming back as Nightcrawler, and they finally mentioned the mother-son connection between Mystique and him on film. It was very frustrating that was never really touched upon in other movies, but they did it here finally. Cool to see Agent Carter, or Captain Carter, I should say, as well as a John Boyega Kang in here. Chris Evans played an alternate Steve Rogers who did not take the serum. So on Battle World, he just gets bodied, and it's played off as something that's supposed to be funny, but it just felt like too much and too mean-spirited, in my opinion. Yeah, lots of interesting things. Lots of people love some of these things, but the overall execution, it's just kind of a mess to me. But that's just me. I'm not the general consensus, I guess. Anyway, if you want to email this podcast, you can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on Delayed Replay reaching 5 years. And, I don't know, mention something that you liked or maybe disliked in Avengers 5, whichever version you saw. So, look in the show notes for my socials. Check out Yes Shift, a podcast/vlog I do with my dad. We recently interviewed Billy Sherwood, bassist of Yes. And also check out Drum Talk TV, interview with my friends Kiyan and Derek from Fake Band Practice. And go to stevenshinder.com for info on my novels, the Standalones and Stepping Stones novels. And yeah, happy 5 years to Delayed Replay. And to top it all off, here's my other self giving an update on what he's been watching. Hey everyone, wow, can't believe Delayed Replay, 5 years old now. So, what have I been watching? I went to the 50th anniversary Monty Python and the Holy Grail screening recently on May the 4th, and that movie is always fun. I ended up rewatching Bandersnatch, that interactive Black Mirror movie that was on Netflix, because I heard that it was gonna be taken down because I guess Netflix is moving away from interactive content, which I kind of get from a business perspective. I feel like I don't really hear much about people using the interactive stuff. And Bandersnatch came out at the end of 2018, and haven't really heard anyone talk about it since then. So it's a shame, though, because it's like, how are people going to experience that now, So I played it for hours, getting the different endings so that, just making the most out of it before it's gone. And I did that as well with the interactive movie Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend. I had only seen season 1 and maybe the first episode or 2 of season 2, like almost a decade ago. But I was still able to follow along with the plot, which I don't know how people are going to experience that now that it's gone, but I guess people can look up the plot points and whatnot. It's just really a shame. This stuff should at least have physical media for people to experience it on. Or, I don't know. It's just a huge mess, some of the streaming stuff. And speaking of which, HBO Max, which changed its name to Max, is now going to be HBO Max again. I have no opinion on this. I was just whatever about the name change, but apparently people were really passionate about disliking the name change, and I guess maybe now they're happy or just rolling their eyes, I don't know. But over on HBO Max, I recently finished watching The Franchise. I kind of forgot about it for a while. It's a TV show basically about people working on superhero movies at Maximum Studios. It's a fictional studio, and wow, Maximum, I bet that was named after Max now that I think about it, even though it feels like it's a Marvel, like alternate Marvel Studios type thing. It just has that vibe more so than a DC studio type thing. in my opinion. But I liked how the season ended. It left me curious for what would have happened next had it been renewed, but alas. Over on Peacock, Poker Face has come back. First 4 episodes of the new season have been really solid. And yeah, I just love these mystery things on that show. Oh, and going back to Peacock, I actually watched it, the second season finally, of Based on a True Story, where Kaylee Cuoco and Chris Messina play a married couple who know this killer, and they made a podcast with him. And season 2 deals with the ramifications following season 1. The ending I was not that happy with, and I would have liked a 3rd season to wrap things up, but that got canceled. Really frustrating. And on the upside, I finished Andor. And really incredible show, really relevant for our times. And like other people, I went straight into Rogue One and A New Hope right after. A New Hope kind of feels like the odd one out, watching those back to back, because the cinematography flows seamlessly between the show and Rogue One, but still a cool experience. Seeing the way that Andor played out, it makes the cameos in Rogue One feel even more out of place. You know, the Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan moment. That just really stood out as something that I feel would have never happened in Andor. And over on my YouTube channel, Steven Shinder Reviews in video form, I have put up a video about how the Cassian and K2SO comic could still fit within Star Wars canon. I also put up more reviews of more Doctor Who episodes. The latest one, the Interstellar Song Contest, was full of surprises. I was really happy with it, so go check that out. And I also put up a review of Thunderbolts, the latest Marvel movie over in my universe. So check that out. But overall, I thought the movie was great. It could have been a little bit better for reasons I go into in the video, but it really shook things up in a good way, I think, tonally and stylistically, and how it handled the characters. It was just so good. Oh, also, after watching or rewatching A New Hope, I went and watched the second season of Light and Magic, which went into ILM's special effects for the Star Wars prequels, as well as other films of around that era. So yeah, I had to kind of get my bit more of my Star Wars fix still. So cool time to be a Star Wars fan. But yeah, you can follow my Letterboxd to see whatever other random things I watch and rate and review, and you know, my Goodreads as well. So I think that's it for now, and Delayed Replay will be back in 2 weeks. So without further delay, have a good day.